I'm a fan of fantasy, so I listen to Easy and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. During the show, you can live chat with Easy and Alan at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. Rumour has it, Lenny only swings one way, with Launch Angle. Now here's Easy and Chris Allen.
That's right. I'm E-Z. Not easy. I'm just E-Z. On the other side over here, Mr. Chris Allen. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain too much. It's been a good week so far, but ready to talk about some sports.
Wow. So wait a minute. Is this your first sports show of the week?
This week? Yeah. Surprisingly enough.
Woo-hoo. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everything goes again. And I haven't even, this time, I've done nothing. My machine updated last week, and since then, I've had issues. So this isn't on me. So I'm down to running nothing but my Hangouts on one screen, and no one cares about this, but this is the kind of things we talk about. Long story short, if something goes wrong, hey, I'm just telling you, Chris, I haven't done anything for 2 weeks.
It's not you this time.
Windows updates and did something, and now it's been acting funky. I had to read it like 5 minutes ago. And if you're in the chat room at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com, the Legend Sports Network, where we're broadcasting live, we're also on YouTube. And again, I had to say it because someone asked me the other day. I am E-Z Kill, one word. So if you're doing searches, it's me. Someone was typing easy like in E-A-S-Y, and I'm not easy. So, you know, I'm just not. I'm very difficult.
That is true.
And I did put the green screen up for you tonight because I thought maybe, I know you've been discussing and I know you got things happening in the future. And I thought, well, maybe Chris have his green screen on. I better be prepared just in case. I didn't want to
not yet. I haven't gotten it yet. I'll probably get it this week and try and have it set up either by the show next week or probably by next weekend.
All right.
That's the plan.
In the chat room, now the picture's sideways. I don't know if you go through the chat room there. I had to be towed home tonight. That's how my night after work
I see that
started. 5 minutes from work, I get to the Harshman and Route 4. I get up on the ramp and I go about 20 feet and the damn thing dies. I think my fuel pump went out. I know no one cares, but it's just not the way to start your night, you know, after work is your car breaking down. So,
right, exactly. What kind of car is that?
I bought that from Joey years and years ago.
I was just about to ask if that was Joey's Mustang.
Well, no, it isn't.
No, not the Mustang.
Joey's Mustang. It's my Mustang. He owned it at one time, but it's now my Mustang.
Right. Yes, it sat in that garage of his for I don't know however many years.
Yeah, and then it sat in my garage forever because he told me it ran when I bought it, but that wasn't the case. So it sat in my garage for years. And then I've rebuilt the clutch. I've put on headers. I've had the engine rebuilt. I got more money invested in it than I paid for it. It's still fun to drive. And, you know, I enjoy it. But I haven't even driven it that much, you know, since the engine was rebuilt. And now the fuel pump goes out. Nothing to do with the engine. It's the damn fuel pump, I think. So I had a tow truck. I have a tow truck drive. How do you say?
Can you do it?
Tow truck driver.
There you go.
And I don't think he was, you know, I don't think he understood the greatness that was in the cab with him. You know, that I was because he didn't want to know anything about fantasy sports or.
Oh, that's boring.
He really didn't want to talk. So, you know,
nothing about sports, nothing like that, huh?
I don't know. You know me, I can talk to anybody.
Well,
I can talk to nobody. He was not buying anything. I tried
not having it, huh?
I was banging a few, you know, things to start some conversation, and it just was going nowhere.
Not interested.
Not interested. And like I said, I'm a sweetheart. I would think. I mean, I kind of look like I could be a serial killer. I think, I mean, I kind of fit the, a serial killer profile. I'm male and I'm white. So I think anymore, that's the only, unfortunately, if you watch one serial killer Netflix show, then in your request, all the stuff,
you get all the rest of them.
Yeah, because you watched this white guy kill a bunch of people. Here's another white guy killing a bunch of people. Here's another. I'm just saying. So that was the way my night started. So I didn't, I did do some prep.
Well, you made it home.
Prepped a little. I did make it home. I was safe. I was concerned that if I, got raped and pillaged by the truck driver, that I would need people to, set my line up for me. Hi, Chris. Tell Easy to suck rock. Cha-Cha can't tell me himself, the big wuss. All right. Now, at certain where, I don't know if it's a Midwest or whatever. I tip in certain situations. I think most of them that you tip in, but I don't tip in weird situations. Tow truck, I cannot say
you can't do it now.
Tow truck driver. Do you tip a tow truck driver?
No.
I don't either. Now, Cha-Cha told me I should have or should do it.
Really?
I do think in New York City, where he's from, those kind of thing, I think you tip everybody. I think you walk out and you give your garbage man $10 so that he doesn't, do things to your yard.
That's possible.
I think, okay, he's calling me cheap. I'm not, I don't know it's cheap in the Midwest or in Ohio. I've never heard anyone say, hey, tip your tow truck driver. I just have.
That's new. Not to say that I wouldn't. I just never have because I never thought to do that. I
give my mailman a Christmas card. We give our UPS and mailman at work Christmas stuff.
We started doing that. Yeah.
I mean, I have tipped, certain parking lot attendants. There's crazy, weirder things like that. I'm trying to think the craziest things I've tipped for. Hey, so I've tipped for those kind of things. I've tipped, situations where I've heard of and or see it done regularly, where other people tip, then I tip. But I've never, trust me, I don't know who's getting paid, but it wasn't cheap to get my vehicle towed 40 miles. So I don't know what the truck driver was getting tapped on top of that. Maybe.
Right.
Right. $30 to the garbage man. I think around Christmas, we give the garbage man a little, right around $20 or so. But I'll be honest, I'm not sure now. Is your community one of those where the garbage man doesn't even get out of the truck anymore?
No, they get out of the truck.
Okay. See, ours don't. Ours now, we have the special cans, the vehicle, it's got that arm, it reaches out, it dumps it and sets it back down. He doesn't get out of the truck at my house because all my trash fits in that can. Now, if you have a few extra things, he has to pop out and he'll throw that in there. But, most of the time now, the garbage guy doesn't even get out of his vehicle. So I don't even know if that deserves a tip anymore.
Right.
Right. Dude changes my tires, I tip him. See, I think in New York, you tip everybody because I think everyone in New York's afraid of getting killed. So you tip people, so you don't get killed. You tip your cabbie. I think you tip everybody. I don't think in the Midwest.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think in the Midwest it's as common, right? I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not a cheap. If it's a tipping situation, now some people say anything with service is a tipping situation, but I don't agree with that. I mean, I'm one of those
to some degree, not all of them.
If a beer's $4, at a bar and I'm just throwing, a $5 bill on the thing, I walk away. I mean, I always tip a waitress or a bartender.
Always tip your bartender.
So that kind of thing. But again, I've just never once have I even crossed my mind till Cha-Cha said something tonight about tipping a tow truck driver. I'm getting
That's a new one.
That, so
not to say I wouldn't. I did
not, but he did take my cash, and enjoyed it. So a couple of quick things, then we'll get into the meat of the program. So give us about a half hour.
Right, exactly. We'll get into it in about.
We'll get into that. First, and the few quickie things. I don't know. You pay attention. The Columbus Blue Jackets. What do you think? I mean, the underdogs. They were against a higher seed. They barely got in the playoffs, and they swept the Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched any. I watched a little bit, and then last night
was it 5-4?
Huh?
What was the final score from last night? Was it 5-4, something like that?
I would say 5-4. Yes.
Okay.
Or
yeah,
4-3. I mean,
forget one of the two. Yeah.
Because it got 3-3, and then we came back and scored again real quick.
Yeah.
So, and again, I literally, which I very rarely do, I cuss at my Bengals once in a while out loud, but I maybe cheer once in a while for my Buckeyes. But I out loud cheer during a hockey game on TV. I'm not sure I've done that in a long, long time because the momentum had switched to Tampa Bay. They scored, they got it tied at 3-3. And then boom, real quick, we scored again. And I thought that was important. I guess I don't know much about hockey, but I just momentum of games I kind of know something about.
Yeah.
So I was excited when they came back and scored within a few minutes of it being tied because that gave us the momentum. We held on the momentum then. And I think that was big. And now you see, I think it was 5-3. I think we did score a goal at the end. One of those.
I thought I saw 5 at some point.
So, okay. So tip the paper boy. We don't have a paper boy anymore. I used to tip a paper boy. He says he doesn't tip his barber. I have to say, barber tipping is something I've done.
I tip even with I cut my own hair, to be quite honest with you.
Right. I think right.
But even when I used to go, I mean, that was always something my dad had taught me that you always do that.
Right.
I mean, even regardless of how ridiculous some of the prices are nowadays. But
okay. Yeah, I get it. Which goes back to my barber story. Do you see? I said we were going back to a story that I haven't started yet. That makes people think they missed something and they want to tune in early next week.
That's what people in the biz do.
Yeah, in the biz. Right. We're in the biz. I went one time, and I'm going to say mid-20s. So, mid-20s where you think you know everything. And even when you tell the story, other people go, I knew that when I was 20. But, sometimes you just aren't aware of things. But I stopped at a small barbershop one day that I had never been to because I was in a situation where hair needed to be cut. This was going to be my only kind of place. Never been there before. A little kind of shack. When I say shack, just a small little building with one of them damn barber things on the outside, which I don't even know they have anymore. The red, white, and blue, barber thing spinning and all that. And I opened the door and, he's in there. Yeah. What does a barber do when there's no one in the place?
Either sitting down, reading a newspaper, sleeping.
Right. Yeah. No, he's reading a newspaper.
Yeah.
And again, when you're 25, everyone seems to be 65. Anybody that's 1 year older than you seems to be 65 when you're 25. So this is an older gentleman. And after some conversation, he was retired military. And, we live in a military community. And this is in Fairborn, near the Air Force Base. He was retired military, tattoo, and when you say tattoos now, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But back then,
that's probably a big deal.
Back there, blah, blah. And I'm fine. We're conversation, only two people there. And I always thought it was weird anyway. This barbershop just sat in the middle of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of sits there.
Yeah.
And I'm fine. He says, "You want to shave?" I've always had, I'm, a trim, a shave, blah, blah, blah. And he says, "Okay, great." This is the first and only time I got laid back and I got the hot towel wrapped around my face treatment. Something I'd only ever seen in old movies.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
Have you ever had it done?
No, I've always wanted to go like New York or something like that and have it done.
Exactly. I've never had it done since and never had it done up to this point.
Right.
I didn't say that. I went back to this guy a few more times. But I do have to say, this was one of those things where I was uncomfortable but enjoying it. Yeah, I don't even,
Oh, yeah.
I think me and Robert Kraft had similar things going on, meaning, I got a weird feeling, but
We're just going to roll with it.
it still feels good. I'm going to do it. So he lays me back, and it wasn't my first barber trip. I've been places before. I've gotten shaves from a barber, but he's got that, just like in slasher films. He's got that blade and he's hitting it on that leather.
Oh boy.
Boom, boom, boom. He's now wrapped my face in these 2 hot steaming towels. And I still just hear, and I got to tell you, now I really, at a moment, I'm sitting there, all I hear is that, where he is banging that blade on that leather, and he lifts the first towel, but leaves the other towel on my face and starts that blade on my neck. And I'm thinking, I'm in the middle of nowhere at a strange place with a barber that looks like he's a mass murderer. And
he could just kill you right there.
Right there. Easy could have been done.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell you, these hot steaming things on my face. I got the whole shave. Then he puts the hot steaming things on again. Oh my God, felt awesome. But then here's the kicker, which I didn't even know was the thing. After that's all done, he puts a cold rag on my face.
Okay.
And I think that has something to do with now closing the pores, opening them. There's a
yeah.
And Chris, I got to tell you, it was a very unique feeling. That first time it's ever happened, and again, I end up going a few more times. And each time it seemed a little weird, but I got to tell you, a very good shave, but it wasn't like where it was a nice, fancy, clean barbershop with other people reading their magazines, blah, blah, blah. So you feel safe, laid back. I felt vulnerable.
Yeah. That's
a good word. I can say tow truck driver and vulnerable, but I'm just saying, hi, Doug. Welcome. Glad you're there. But Floyd the barber was a sweet ass pecan pie. Floyd the barber used to do the towels. I'm just saying, I would recommend, if you've never had a shave, with the hot towels.
Oh, it's on my bucket list.
Definitely
been on my bucket list for years.
I'm pretty sure the guy who did my face, he's dead. I'm sure he was old back then. And we're talking a long time ago. But how do we get to that? I have no idea.
I have no idea how we got there either.
But you need to do the towel on the face.
Yes.
Do it at a place where it's a little more reputable, where you're not afraid you're about to die. So, and I did tip him, and I think that's what started this, that, tipping your barber. I definitely would recommend tipping a barber, and especially if he's going to cover your face with hot shit and put a razor on your neck.
Yeah.
So that's it. So the Blue Jackets, big deal. I'm excited. I don't know much about hockey, and I don't even know. What I know about the Blue Jackets is they have a lot of decent players that their contracts are out, and the rumor is they're going to be rebuilding next year. So this is like a run that if they got it, if they're going to have a chance, it's kind of this year. So hopefully it continues. So
yeah,
that was my hockey. A crazy thing that happened this week that I did not participate in.
Okay.
So I'm going to see if you know what it was and if you participated in it. And if you did or not, I'm just currently curious thing, because I don't find these things enjoyable. And this is if I pronounce her name correctly, but the Samantha Cerio, Cerio. I don't know if that's a name or how you would pronounce that. Cerio. The Auburn senior gymnast that on the floor exercise broke both her legs.
Oh.
Okay. I can tell by your reaction that you have not seen and or heard that this happened.
No.
Well, it became a big deal because the video became viral in a hurry.
Yeah.
And then she came out and said, please stop watching it.
Well, of course. That makes some sense. Okay.
I'm one of those that, because once I already knew what happened, I'm not watching. I don't need to watch. I've seen things live that I wish I hadn't seen, but at the same time, I'm not squirming. I'm not anything, but I was respectful to her request of, hey, it's my pain. I prefer that we leave it alone.
Yes.
I've read things. I've read some dramatic thoughts about what people have seen, I don't need to see it. Maybe I'll accidentally someday. I clicked a few things to get her name and try to find out, but she is a senior gymnast. One of the, she was the leader on their team, and literally, doing
both of her legs, huh?
Doing multiple things. And again, the descriptions are pretty rough. And like I said, so that's my first thing. Are you the kind of person that, and I don't think it's right or wrong, I'm just curious, are you the kind of person that now would search this type thing out because you would want to see it, or are you one of those that I don't need to see it?
I don't really need to see it. I mean, if somebody were to show it to me, like, hey, have you seen this video? I mean, I'd probably watch it, but I mean, I don't really think I need to see it.
Right. Yeah. Again, the gentleman we talked about earlier that I bought his car, he loves that shit, and he would show me stuff, and I go, why'd you show me that?
Oh, yes, I know.
He loves the skateboarders cracking their nuts.
Yes, yeah.
He cannot get enough of that.
It still cracks him up.
I don't find it, I don't know. I don't find it enjoyable. I don't need that.
But it's just not my thing.
Life. At the same time, if I see it, I usually don't care much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, so that brings me to the next question then. What is, and I'm going to go with live, meaning, because I think if we just go and search things, we've seen crazy things, but live and or by mistake, or you just kind of came across it in athletics. I think I want to say, I'm almost pretty sure it was Louisville Cardinals in the NCAA tournament a few years back, where the kid broke his leg right in the middle of the game.
Yes, I remember that. I saw that live.
And that was live. I mean, if you were watching it, you saw, but I mean, it happened. There was no turning back.
Right in front of his team. I mean, that was bad.
Right. And, it was pretty. So that's one of the worst that I've seen. And I've seen a lot of weird ones in football, obviously. I mean, I think we've all seen them, but in, I think that's one of the
the Theismann injury.
Theismann was a big one. And you said Theismann, I was thinking the Bengals guy, the Super Bowl. Snapped his leg.
I know who you're talking about.
Right? It's like,
but even just seeing some of the gruesome hits that happen in the NFL, like when guys get knocked out. I remember it wasn't this season, but it was, actually it might have been this season, but I think it was towards the tail end of the 2017
The one where Antonio Brown got knocked out was pretty vicious.
Antonio Brown got knocked out. The one where Devontae Adams got his helmet crushed, and you could actually see during the hit, you could see his helmet deform, and almost like his jaw was hurt in the process. Right? He actually wasn't concussed. Right. But I mean, that was just a scary hit. I remember... who was it? Devin Hester? His final year, I think, with the Bears, he got knocked out on a punt return, and you could see when he got hit, you could see his fists lock up. He just, arms swung out in the air. The ball was fumbled. I mean, you could tell he was just instantly knocked out by the hit. So just, I hardly like seeing those when NBC or whomever, whenever the broadcast replays those. So watching any other sports injuries, just really not for me.
Doug Boyle in the chat room, is saying, right. I can't imagine watching something like that. Well, wait a minute. The way he words it's a little different. I couldn't imagine watching something like that happened to me over and over again. And then his question is, do you think Theismann has ever watched the LT hit? I'm guessing he has seen it because I think I've seen him interviewed about it. But it's different. He probably didn't see it until he was ready. But for this poor girl, I'm assuming the way Twitter and Facebook work, if you link her in it, when she logs into her own social media, it's there. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
without a doubt.
It would be much harder to not see your own injury, multiple times. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the services I think did put on her behalf, put out they put out something that brought a lot of them down, but obviously they say once it's out there, it's hard, they can't.
The internet is forever.
Right. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Theismann has seen it before. Cha-Cha says he saw an ostrich give birth today. He thought that was pretty gruesome, but but I'm just, even the jackass
eggs, though. Ostriches don't lay eggs.
I'm pretty. It's cha-cha. I agree. Now, coming out of that egg could be disgusting. I don't know, but the jackass stuff, that was in my wheelhouse age-wise, and I enjoyed
I never got into it
when it was on MTV, when it was first out, before, when you didn't realize that they were putting it on. You know what I'm saying? You just kind of thought it was really guys out in the park filming themselves. I dealt with that, but then you're right. Quickly, that wasn't in my thing to watch. My kids would, and I would, and all that. Again, if someone says, "Hey, come look at these 8 videos of skateboarders crushing their nuts," or in baseball, there's a lot of, you can go on YouTube and just type in, pitchers that get hit back, with balls hit back at them. There's some terrible ones, and unfortunately, some of the worst looking ones, the guys are all right. Sometimes it's the ones that don't even look that bad where the guy never plays again. It just because it hits them just right. And I'm back to the Louisville guy. The Louisville kid even came back and played in the pros a little bit. Because I know that was a big deal when he did that. And that's the point, But I don't know. I just wanted to bring back, we've talked about this stuff before. Athletes give a lot more than we as fans think. I really believe that. We just think they get up, eat Cheerios or Wheaties, and they can just do it. I mean, yes, there's some God-gifted skill and ability, but they're doing things that people would say, it's gymnastics. What's the odds I'm going to see something happen? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it happens, So, here's a person, given her college, Auburn University, she's given everything she's got for them. And in their NCAA semifinals or quarterfinals, it was in the NCAA gymnastics tournament that this happened. And
that's so sad.
So, yeah. And now I have now seen her. She's been in, I mean, she's going to be fine,
Oh, sure.
But at the time, and they've said, they say you can hear her screaming, and all that. And I'm out. A lot of the football stuff that we talked about, very rarely do you see or hear anybody.
No, because they cut away, they go to commercial.
Yeah, or it's, I'm not saying this men or women. It's just, it's like the Louisville guy. The Louisville guy, it happened so quickly. They said he just kind of was out of it right away,
Right.
He just stood there. I mean, he kind of was watching, he said, I've seen interviews with him. He said, I just looked down and saw my bone hanging out. He said, I didn't feel a thing. Yeah.
Adrenaline going and you don't feel it.
So, but the same thing. I've also seen grown men in a football game rolling around and screaming and doing all that. And then, like I said, 2 plays later, they're back in the game. So it's like,
well, that's Cordell for you. They shoot them up with some painkillers and they're right back on the field.
Right. So I just wanted to throw her name out there. And like I said, and again, I was, I didn't see that one, but I've watched a little bit of the gymnastics NCAA tournament and again, the things these girls do now, gymnastics wise, is just amazing.
So
I wanted to, like I said, not tell anyone to go watch the video. If you do, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. But and like I said, she requests that we don't watch it or share it anymore. I think actually her request is quit sharing it, because she, that type thing. But so that's that. Well, let's get into the next big thing. And that's, the great comeback that happened this week.
Tiger.
Did you participate? Did you I was wrapped in. Luckily here in Ohio, the Sunday weather, the way the weather played out, it made it perfect. And then it coming on at 9:30 in the morning, that was perfect. I was locked in. I watched the whole thing. I usually try to watch a lot of Masters, but weather dictates if I get to watch it all or come and watch the last 9 or something like that. So pretty neat, pretty fun. I mean, I've never been the biggest Tiger Woods fan, but I'm not a big golf anybody fan. I'm just a fan of, I hope it comes down to the last few holes and it's exciting. And this kind of did, I mean, so what?
I really felt bad for Molinari. I mean, to implode like that, I felt that was really, just a terrible thing to have happen at such a big event.
Well, but what was odd about it is all 4 of them out of the top 5 golfers, 4 of them bogeyed or double bogeyed 16, I want to say. Remember everyone but Tiger.
Yeah.
Everyone but Tiger. Tiger birdied that one or something, or parted. He realized everybody was, I think.
Yeah, he gained so much ground right there. Yeah.
Right. 4 of the 5 went in the water,
Yeah.
And Tiger really took off. So I think that helped me not be as, I didn't feel bad for all of them. I just went, oh, awesome. This is going to now it's a match. I wasn't cheering or not cheering. It wasn't, but in my opinion, because it happened to 4 of them, it wasn't like I looked at him and when he choked or he did whatever. They did say the wind just was weird that right at that time, the wind was a little, crazy because 4 of these big hitters thought they cleared it and they didn't,
Right.
So I found that, pretty exciting. Right. That was a big turn. But at the same time, they all hung around for a long time. I mean, it actually there was he had already come down once before, and then he I think he I don't think maybe he did eagle. He did some. I think maybe he eagled and went back up 2 at one point and then came back again. Meaning, it wasn't like he was up 2 or 4 or 6 or whatever the whole time. It was always within reach. But
yes.
It was pretty cool. And then when the 2 guys, the first one went in the clubhouse at -11, then you knew, okay, these other guys still got 6 holes to go, but you're going to have to shoot a -11.
Right.
At that point, they were -12 and 13, and you knew Amen Corner was coming. The whole thing made it pretty exciting. Now, did you watch the whole thing?
No, I did not watch the whole thing.
Man.
I watched Sunday. I watched. Let's see. So I watched part of Friday's at the wrap up. I watched the replay on Friday, and then Saturday I watched a bit of it, and then I tracked the most of it throughout Saturday, and then Sunday I tracked most of it, and then once it came towards the end, and it was like, oh my gosh, he might actually win. Then I started watching.
Okay.
But I always stay connected to sports. I mean, especially for an event like that.
And I knew with Tiger being in the run, I mean, obviously, now to be honest, I've not heard or seen. I'm assuming the TV ratings were going to be hurt some just because of it being on so early. You're going to lose the West Coast some and all that.
Sure.
I really believe if this would have happened exactly like it had, but had been normal, where they played at 2:30 till about 7:30 at night, the ratings would have been much higher.
Yeah. And with that storm coming in, I wasn't sure how they were going to play that because I knew they had to get off the course like pretty quickly after everything was done. But
right, because storms were coming. I mean, it was, and I think
it was pretty bad
a little bit. So
yeah,
I found it interesting that they even did what they did. When you take a major tournament like that and you say, at the last minute, all right, because Tiger said he was going to have to get up at like 2:30 in the morning. Or something like that because of all the pain, the preparation to get your mindset. You're taking something where it's back to, I think in fantasy terms, if we were in a league that was like that and at the last minute your commissioner said, hey, because some weird things are happening, this is going to be the last week and we're starting the playoffs next week instead of
right.
We would say no, it ain't, no way. But they actually, they did it. They said this is a major, it doesn't matter. We know the only way to make it so it's fair is we all, we're going to go off early, or you're not going to finish, and then half of you are going to have to finish tomorrow, and it's not the same. I think they did the right thing, or the other argument was they could have just postponed it all till Monday. Now, obviously, now you would have no, viewership.
They would have had to have contend with the NBA playoffs.
Well, TV wise, yeah. Well, but they would have started. I think if they'd have gone to Monday, they would have started at least like at 12:30 or something. They'd have still got done before nighttime. But,
right.
I don't know. I was glad because again, I had no problem jumping up and getting up at 9 in the morning and putting it on and bam, I was hooked because like I said, here in Ohio we got rain, things happened. I had no kids, I was in that chair. I pretty much watched the whole thing, so I enjoyed it. But that's going to be my next question then. And I'm not going to talk teams because to me, this isn't a team thing. I'm not talking a game, but in your mind, I'm curious what other top comeback for an individual in really any sport, what other ones can you come up with that compares or is close to, or makes you, what does this remind you of anything else as far as comebacks?
As far as comebacks on that level?
Yeah.
I would say that LeBron coming back and actually winning with Cleveland, I think that was for me personally, I think that cemented for me his legacy. I thought him leaving, all the drama that came with that, him winning down in Miami, but when he came back and he was actually able to take them to a championship, I thought that was really wonderful to see. It was definitely one of those big moments.
I would agree that it's kind of a different way, in my opinion, to say comeback. He came back to Cleveland, but he was not hurt the year before. He wasn't,
No, he wasn't.
The Tiger Woods thing is somebody who technically
there's been nothing like Tiger. I have never experienced, nor have I read about anything like Tiger.
Well, I'm going to give you a name that, in my opinion, it happened in my lifetime that I think is right up here with this. Maybe a step more, personally. Because when I brought this up last night on the roundtable, everybody threw out teams. In football, when New England came back in the Super Bowl, that
was one game though.
That's my point. But those are still technically comebacks.
Sure.
In my mind, the oldest one, I still remember Boston College with Doug Flutie when they came back and won that college game.
I've heard it. Yeah.
That was a comeback, but still, that's not an individual. My individual is this person was a champion, was very successful, then left the sport for over 10 years, and then came back and became champion again. And that's George Foreman.
Oh, okay.
George Foreman was a champion. He was in some of the biggest boxing matches of heavyweight in the late 70s that you could be in. He fought Muhammad Ali. He fought Kenny Norton. He won a gold medal. George Foreman was, I'm not going to say he was Tiger Woods. I think I don't think there's too many people ever going to say any heavyweight was ever better than Muhammad Ali. But George Foreman had a pretty good career, and then he retired.
Mm-hmm.
This is boxing. I'm not saying boxing and golf. I am saying it. There's a little bit of difference about not being hit for 10 years, and now I'm going to let people hit me in the face.
Yes.
But he was off, and I could be wrong if it's exactly 10 years. He could have started coming back at 9, but if I'm not mistaken, he re-won the title of heavyweight champion of the world roughly 10 years later after retiring. I think that's pretty amazing also.
That's fair. Yeah.
And that is an individual,
mm-hmm.
versus this is somebody who would have, which I think is where we're at with Tiger. Somewhere in this 10 or 11 years with Tiger, I think somewhere in the middle of the 10 years with George Foreman, if someone
mm-hmm.
went, you think George will win a heavyweight title again? I think people would go, no way in hell. Just the same way there was a lot of people. If anything, I think that would have been even more likely that no one would say, yes, he will. I still think there were a few people that thought Tiger could come back. You know what I'm saying? Meaning
I always believed,
the George Foreman thing, I don't think anyone believed, including, if you listen to his story, him. He'd have told you 5 years in, he's never going to box.
He was almost 40 when he came back.
Yes, right. Not just come back. And he even said, I came back for my kids. They were young when I was fighting, blah, blah, blah. And I was laying around the house getting fat. I thought I might as well give this a whirl. So, yes, the whole thing. And Tiger's I don't know. How old is Tiger now? I think they said it.
Middle 40, right? Yeah, he's one of the older guys on the tour now, which is actually kind of surprising.
42. I think and then Jack Nicklaus winning.
No,
when Jack Nicklaus,
he's 42, 43.
Master, he was quite a ways apart. The difference, though, is Jack Nicklaus kept golfing that whole time and was at least competitive once in a while. Where Tiger really didn't even golf for 3 years. Period. And then when he terrible, wasn't even competitive when he came back at first and had to quit again. Mm-hmm. George Foreman didn't even do it. So I don't know. And I've heard a lot of people talk about these comebacks. And you don't hardly hear any of them. George Foreman didn't get mentioned hardly in any of them on ESPN and some of these where they're talking about great comebacks. They're like other people. They're talking about teams and games and this and that. I don't know. It's, now I want to say he beat Michael Moore, which wasn't the greatest heavyweight in the world. That was the point where Buster Douglas was struggling. Mike Tyson was struggling. I mean, yeah, he timed it just right to become the heavyweight champion of the world, where Tiger did beat. If anything, if there's an advantage of Tiger over what George did is, George at least was able to kind of, hey, this is my shot. I'm going to go fight Michael Moore and win the title. He wasn't like going, now I think he would have. I think based on what I know and have watched the story, if it was still Mike Tyson, he'd have still got in and fought. The odds are he probably would have won though. But
yeah,
Tiger Woods did go up against the top. I mean, that leaderboard was full of, champions and full of great golfers. So, Tiger Woods did it.
That's what I'm saying. There's really nothing like it. I just can't.
I'm out. Now, wait a minute. I forgot about it. Douglas Boyles, Ted Williams came back and played baseball after 3 years of World War II.
That's impressive. Yeah.
That isn't bad. I mean, and now you're fighting a war. Now you've got mental stress and all that. Now, I'll be honest, I'd have to look. So hey, Ted, thank you for your service. But a lot of people like Ted Williams, when they went into the service, didn't necessarily fight. You know what I'm saying? They did other things. So hey, I'm not knocking it, but I'm not sure, I don't think necessarily he was on the front lines. But still, 3 years off and coming back. Michael Jordan's 2 or 3 years off to play baseball and coming back. I don't really count that because, one, he was on top when he left. And there's a lot of rumors that he left because he had to for some maybe gambling issues. And then he came back. He really never left any sport, where we actually have Foreman and Tiger and now Ted Williams. They didn't even play. They weren't doing things. So that was how about Elvis Presley? I'm going to give you that. Elvis Presley had a great comeback. And if I'm not mistaken, Cam, thank you for Cam was doing a podcast while I was stuck on the highway today, and I listened and participated. And Cam stayed on a little longer to entertain me while I was on the side of the highway waiting for the tow truck. I had to wait 45, 50 minutes for a tow truck. So Cam, I do appreciate that. And Cam was excited because Cam had a Mustang. He doesn't have it anymore. And because I posted myself on the side of the highway with my car broken down in the chat. He's saying Ted Williams piloted fighter planes. I'm there. All right.
I did not know that. Wow.
You go from baseball player to fighter pilot back to baseball player. I'm going to give that to him. So, that's a pretty good, thing. But I do agree when Elvis came and Cam, I think the big Hawaii leather concert was his comeback, right? I think I've always heard that, and I've watched that video. My mom and dad were Elvis people, so I kind of had a little Elvis love in my heart back in the day. So, Elvis isn't quite, I think music and sports are different because I don't think if you're a singer and you don't sing for 10 years, you don't know how to really sing much anymore. You still can sing. You just decided not to, or not to have hits, I guess. But again, not to box, not to golf, not to play baseball, and then come back.
Just anything. Yeah.
Yeah, not do anything. That's back to where the Michael Jordan thing, I'm not saying that's not a great comeback because he came right back. Now, like I said, he came back to the same team, the same coaches. I struggle with saying that was a great comeback. Anybody else you can come up with?
That just stopped doing it altogether? I mean, the only person I think of that, at least from a football standpoint, that's even attempted to do it but wasn't great doing it was like Brett Favre. But it didn't even work out.
Yeah.
I mean, he tried retaring and then come back.
I don't even think he was out a whole year. He just came back in the middle of the year.
It was like middle of the season when he decided he wanted to come back.
And it just
from football.
It
It
just dawned on me, and I'm not going to know her name. But I don't know, and I might be off on which Olympics, but one of the last couple Summer Olympics, we had that swimmer, the woman that was like 40 some years old, that she swam in the Olympics when she was like in her 20s, and then she kind of raised her family and did some stuff, and then came back. Even she was surprised she qualified for the Olympics and then won a gold medal. Don't know her name, but I do remember the story. She was pretty.
Look it up.
Yeah. So there was an Olympic woman in one of the last Summer Olympics that was a swimmer, gave it up. And okay, the word give it up might be wrong. She just didn't participate in high levels, I think, when she raised a family, and then in her mid 40s came back out and participated and got good enough to go back to the Olympics. So that's pretty good. We talked yesterday about, and I'm going to miss the name here. There was the tennis player who got stabbed on the court. You don't remember that? That was maybe, we talked about last night. So Doug, if you put her name out there, there was the girl. I mean, she was at the top of her game. She was serving the ball in the middle of a match, and a stranger came out on the court and stabs her. She ends up not playing. She ends up not playing for almost a year, and then does come back. Now, the problem is she probably still won some, but she was never the same. You know, she even admitted it. She just, you know, you get back on the court, you thought about it, you know. But that was a pretty big comeback. And here's the last one I'll give you, and I'll be curious, and it's another Olympic one.
Okay.
And the Kerrigan girl.
The
Kerrigan girl, even though it happened quickly, she was at the top of her game because she had just won the American, you know, nationals to qualify for the Olympics. During that event, her leg gets broken.
Yes.
But within a year, she's back and can skate in the Olympics and win a gold. And she wins a silver, not a gold. So she does come back and participates. And then at least, you know, I think silver still makes you a pretty competitive skater. But my argument there, Sarah's, the comeback there is not just physical, but mental. Same thing, because you're overcoming somebody attacked you, you know, and that person they're pretty sure was on the ice with her. You know, I mean, in that Olympics, Tanya Harding was also on the ice. So, you know, I don't think at that point they knew 100% it was her, but I think it had been already kind of out there that Tanya Harding's was part of the. So to me, that's another unique comeback for an athlete, that they went through something like that.
Oh, sure. And
can go from, and if I'm not mistaken, she pretty much didn't do anything until the Olympics, you know, meaning she wasn't, you know, so I don't know. I enjoyed the golf. We'll go back to the golf, the Tiger Woods, and even him, sometimes the shots, he was in trouble and then he
just made it work.
Even recovery of his shots during that last day was pretty amazing, you know? And he said, you know, I every once in a while I hit a ball bad. I just knew, go out there, keep my head, you know, on straight and make the next shot, you know? And that was really pretty cool. So, let's, again, we're 45 minutes in. Now we can talk, you know, football and fantasy.
Sure.
The two big things that obviously have happened here in the last few days.
Something happened?
Yeah, just a few things. And I'll ask you, because sometimes my things that I think's important, then you have something else. But obviously the big thing to me at first was Russell Wilson signing this big contract. I don't know. It seems like these teams that pay their quarterbacks this kind of money never do much better afterwards. But what's your opinion of now Russell Wilson being, I think that every quarterback that's going to get signed from here on out is always going to be the next highest paid person, I think. But I think 140 million and 64 guaranteed, if I recall.
That sounds about right. I thought it was like 40 million a year, 35 million a year, somewhere in there. But yeah, I don't know. I think if the problem with the Wilson contract is that it comes on the heels of the big Kirk Cousins contract, and Cousins wound up playing terribly, or at least he was more or less a replacement level quarterback in 2018. But Russell Wilson is not Kirk Cousins. Russell Wilson is light years better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but that's never my problem. My problem is you pay one player that much money, you sacrifice other places because of the way the NFL salary cap.
Well, that is absolutely correct. But I guess the issue with that is unless an organization from the top down is willing to employ the same strategy as the Patriots, where they've now
they're the only ones that do it, and Tom's willing to allow it happen.
Exactly. So unless from the top down they understand that this is what they're going to do, and the quarterback and the organization are ready to build around him in order to do that, then you can create a dynasty like the Patriots. But nobody's really willing to do that. So that's just never going to happen. So that's why you see teams like the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and now Seahawks and Russ. And I mean,
Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the Packers have not been as good once he signed the contract. I mean, you just can't.
Well, that was for other reasons. They had Jordy Nelson trailing off. Devontae Adams was coming on.
I don't care what other reasons. It almost always happens. We can say other reasons. We can say whatever, but they don't have extra money to spend on any extra pieces. I'm sorry. When you pay $140 million, you're going to have some weakness on your bench because you're not paying, there's, your backups you got to hope are better than other people's because you're not assigning, you're not paying $1 million to backup. You're paying minimums, but
well, that's not true because the Steelers were able to maintain both Ben, Bell, and Brown for at least a couple of years. Like while they were franchising Bell for a significant amount, Brown was he got his contract extension, and Ben was still getting paid quite a bit.
All right, so my argument against that will be Pittsburgh's defense suffered during that time. They were
still playing pretty good defense.
They were okay, but they weren't the defense that Pittsburgh was used to having. Why? Because all the money went on the offensive side. It did.
Sure. But I'm just saying that when it comes to paying that, I mean, you're never going to have. I would say it's impossible for you to create a completely balanced team without one side suffering. So while they were able to create a really potent offense, they were at least able to have an average defense. I mean, that's the same thing that more or less that Kansas City had last year. They had a middling defense, but with a lights out offense, and they tried to ride that into the Super Bowl, and they're basically like 6 plays away from doing that.
And again, I it sounds like I'm arguing but I think unfortunately this is the way it is now, that top players unfortunately happen to be on offense most of the time. Sure. And you're just tying up a lot of money. And I get it. If you're Russell Wilson, you don't care, but unfortunately you have the GOAT out there that's never been the highest paid quarterback and is willing. Now, some people say, because he's married to a wife that makes 10 times more than he does. It doesn't even matter. But Russell Wilson, my argument would be $90 million would have been enough. And then that's, then there's 4. And now I know it doesn't even work that way. It's not 90 and then you can spend 50 on other people. It doesn't work that way because this is a total contract. I mean, But at the same time, and I know there's quarterbacks that want this amount, and yes, sometime in the middle of next year, the end of next year, he can say, all right, I'm going to give some back so we can sign somebody. I think Russell Wilson might be the kind that will do that. If I had to guess, this will be restructured before it's all paid out, because I think Russell Wilson would say, all right, I signed it and that's fine. I got the pub. And then now I'll wait a year and I'll get the pub for saying I'm going to cut a little back so we can sign so-and-so.
Because they're already looking at it's like their defensive edge of Frank Clark. They've just franchise tagged him, I think, for the first time. So they're probably going to look at having to create some cap room or cap space for him in the 2020 season. So there's things they're going to have to move around. But I can understand from the fact that now that there is no more Legion of Boom in Seattle, you got to pay somebody. And so if Russ is now saying that I'm the only legitimate piece that you guys have left, pay me, and then we can figure it out from there, then I understand the strategy, but I also understand what you're saying in that paying a quarterback 10 to 15% of your team's salary is always going to be a hindrance because
I know the Bengals don't have a Russell Wilson, but I was still pissed how much we paid Andy Dalton, and I'm not even against Andy Dalton, believe it or not. I'm one of these.
But no, it's just how much the cap room they take up for the rest of the team.
Right. And I don't want my team to put all those eggs in that one quarterback basket.
No, because our quarterback sucks. Or he's replacement level.
Our quarterback. My argument is back to even Russell Wilson. One hit and Russell Wilson can be out for a year. I mean, it's happened. Sure. But
the same thing happened to Aaron Rodgers.
Anybody, but I don't know. I understand it. I just don't want my Bengals to do it. I mean, I said, I don't know. Because I'm still one of those believers in you can build a real good team. And I know I get this argument, people, and it is hard to argue sometimes, but there's been many of Super Bowl teams win without a good quarterback.
Nick Foles just did it like 2 seasons ago.
That's what I'm saying. It's happened multiple times. And
right, but this was also a team that had a lights-out defense.
Well,
their offense was great.
Well, you can pay defenses. You can pay,
and
you can do
Philly
a lot
was
of things.
up against the edge of the cap space in 2017 when they won. They had like less than 10 million in cap space, I think, by the end of the year with all the moves that they were making, because they brought in. That was the year they brought in Jay Ajayi, and they made that those big moves. So yeah.
Now, just because Doug did the research, I appreciate it. Monica Seles, she's a tennis player.
I remember
Monica, the one who got stabbed on the thing, and only one more thing, because he did put it in here, and I know because of what happened later on. But yes, Lance Armstrong did leave in the middle of his career to fight cancer, and then came back and won the Tour de France.
Even though he's on steroids.
Well, okay, but he did have cancer. That was a fact.
He did have cancer, and then he took steroids.
I'm not sure the steroids. Okay, that's my point. I don't think that you're going to get. And then they did post a video there of Elvis in Hawaii, because I think that was his big comeback.
That's awesome.
Thing. I might have to watch. I remember watching that when it was pre-recorded back in the day, but it was on TV at one point, like on CBS or something on a Sunday night. And I remember sitting with my mom and dad and watching Elvis in that black leather outfit. So that's my thing. That was a pretty big deal that he had signed, and I think everyone knew it was going to happen. Smaller signing that fantasy wise, I like the Demaryius Thomas. Now I know he's not healthy. We'll have to see. The New England Patriots is the place to have him. They seem to make those things sometimes work. And here, even when they don't work, it doesn't hurt them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sometimes it hurts them because it messes with chemistry or blah, blah, blah. And this is a no-brainer for New England to bring in Demaryius Thomas. If he's healthy enough and comes back 80%, Tom Brady can take an 80% Demaryius Thomas and make it just good enough to work.
True.
So I'm now I did my first draft and hold. The one I told you last week, we were going to do, we're going to do a mock draft, but then I ended up getting in the draft. And originally it was going to be a mock draft just so they could write an article. And after we got 2.5 rounds in, and a couple people in the chat room went, are we going to play this out? And then a few people said, I'll put in 10, I'll put in 20. Yeah. Okay. Enough of us decided, okay, let's play it out. Then we had to decide, well, then if we're going to play it out, let's restart the draft. Long story, what was going to be a 7-round just for fun mock draft so they could write an article ended up being an 18-round mock draft, draft and hold NFL. I took Demaryius Thomas. This was before he signed. I took Demaryius Thomas as my very last pick. I was like, what I got to lose in a draft and the hold?
Free. Can't hate it.
Yes. And I know he got hurt, and before that he wasn't doing that great, but the quarterback situation wasn't that great either. So I like where he fell. So the last NFL thing I have, I'll hold off because I'm not sure if it's what you want to talk about. What is the big news in the NFL that you're bringing to the table?
Actually, that was about it.
The last thing I had was that the schedule came out today. And
schedule.
Thank you. All right, good. Then never mind, because ESPN did 2 hours on it.
Could not care less. Of course, when it comes to best ball,
the expert is on the fan side.
For best ball, that makes sense. Because in best ball you want to be able to stagger your onesie positions, so quarterbacks, tight ends, and defense and special teams, so that they don't share a bye week.
In this draft and hold the other day, we didn't have a clue.
That's what makes sense. Yeah.
And you know what? I got bitched at because I didn't draft a second defense, and people made fun of me. Now, here was my argument. Their argument was you needed 2 defenses because of bye weeks. My argument was I don't know the bye weeks yet. So it's a waste. I could pick a second one and end up with both of them at the same bye week. So I'll just draft one, take my chances that yes, maybe one. I know for a fact 1 week I'm not going to have a defense. I'm going to get a 0, but I would rather have taken a player at that point than a second defense. Do you think I was wrong?
I guess in that logical sense, no. But if you're already going in assuming you're going to wind up, you're definitely take a 0 1 week.
I know
you will take a 0.
But you could have taken a 0 and still drafted 2 Ds if they both had the same bye week. When we drafted last Thursday, the schedule wasn't out. So my argument is, you're guessing. I don't care if you had the 2 best defenses. If they have the same bye week, we knew this week we'd know the schedule, but it was too late. We already put $20 in and we drafted. I did. Right. I felt I had a better option. Like in this case, to be real honest, Demaryius Thomas, or the Bengals defense. Right. I don't know. The Bengals defense could got me a 0. No, and I ended up with a mediocre defense anyway. I did know what I kind of planned ahead. So I didn't take one of the top ones, but I could look it up. I mean, I can't even remember which one I got, but I got one of those middle, grade ones, figuring I'll ride that out and I'm fine. So
well, then I disagree with that premise, because if you're only going to take one, then I would think that you would want to maximize your expected points for the defensive position.
My argument against that is defenses never are the same as the year before. So
that is absolutely true.
That's my problem. I wasn't willing to take one of the top ones because you're guessing. My point is, if I take a middle one, the odds are I'm just going to be okay, and that's what I wanted to be.
I would say take the best one based off of value, not just the best one because we think that the Jaguars are going to be the greatest or Houston.
Now you're making me look up my damn team. So keep talking.
Well, no, my argument against that would be that if you're going to take a top defense, and I would say top defense not based off of last year's scoring, but top defense based off of personnel. So some of the top defenses that are currently going high in best ball drafts. So the Houstons, the Baltimores, for some reason, even though they're shipping off a lot of defensive players, the Jacksonvilles, the both LA teams, like those types of teams. We know that 1, they're attached to good offenses, and 2, they have fairly decent personnel on defense. So those are the 2 things that you want to look for. So if you're looking at I would say even all the way down to maybe like Pittsburgh, that would probably be about where I'd cut off, saying that those are like the middling teams. But if you're only going to take one, I would suggest taking one of the higher end defenses based on value, not just based off of how they did in 2018, because then you're increasing your chance of you're increasing your expected point total for the position.
The one I took now look at it, I think it's above average. I took the Chargers.
No, well then that's actually one of the top. For me personally, they're top 5.
All right, but I knew it wasn't the top couple.
It's not Houston, it's not New Orleans, it's not Baltimore, it's not Jacksonville. Like fine.
And the 2 players I took instead. Now you'll laugh at me. One, Demaryius Thomas was my very last pick. My second to last pick, I took Greg Olsen.
Oh well, then why not?
Well, because Greg Olsen could be in the booth calling games.
No, he already signed his extension. He's playing this year.
When did he sign that? As of fact, when I looked him up last week, he still hadn't signed.
No, he's already committed to this year.
Okay, good. All right. I took Greg Olsen next to last. I thought, you know what? My tight ends weren't great, but if Olsen did okay in a draft and hold,
Jordan Rodrigue, local beat reporter for the Carolina Panthers, a hell of a good follow on Twitter if anybody's listening.
Okay,
but
do you have the Twitter account?
I thought it was just at Jordan Rodrigue, but I can.
We'll post it in the show below. Something we've never ever done, and we probably won't do it now either. But we'll post
at Jordan Rodrigue. But she had already had a discussion or talk with Greg Olsen. This was probably 2 weeks ago, and he had already stated his intent to come back and play for this year.
Because that made my tight ends Jared Cook, Kyle Rudolph. And then I took Greg Olsen. And to me,
those are 3 solid tight ends, considering Kyle Rudolph also just recently signed an extension.
Greg Olsen and Demaryius Thomas, to me, are both better picks than a defense that still might get me a 0. That was my argument, because I'm more than happy with the Chargers. And I'll take my 0 whenever their bye week is now.
That is not a middling defense. That is one of the top tier defenses, in my personal opinion.
All right. Now that we're here, you made me look it up. I did not. I'm not. You know me. I suck at this draft and hold stuff. And I don't know my draft order. Obviously, if someone's listening, they'll pay attention. I'm not even sure my team's that good. Quarterbacks, Tom Brady and Andy Dalton.
No.
I know, but trust me, I went very late on QBs.
That's fine.
And that's what I got stuck with.
Right.
Austin Eckler, Devontae Freeman, Derrick Henry, Ronald Jones, Sony Michel, Adrian Peterson, Jalen Samuels. Those are my running backs.
So that's 6. Okay.
And believe me, I'm hoping Sony Michel is my main guy, and Devontae Freeman and Adrian Peterson get me a couple big weeks. I think I mean they're okay. I just don't have a
so basically, if Rex Burkhead or James White scores any touchdowns for the Patriots, you're screwed.
Yeah, shit happens.
Okay.
Oh, I have their quarterback. See, that's the difference. See, I took Tom Brady at least get credit because he's going to be throwing the ball to those two. So if
not Sony Michel.
Right, but I have Sony Michel. If he scores, I'll get his touchdowns.
Well, okay.
Quit nitpicking me. All right, now here's where I really suck. Wide receivers, Doug Baldwin, Corey Davis, DeAndre Hopkins, Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas, Demaryius Thomas, Sammy Watkins.
Wait, you got a team with Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, and DeAndre Hopkins?
My first 2 picks were DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas. That was I picked 7th. So you're fine. PPR, right? That's why I went heavier. I was pretty set on wide receiver, so I figured I just would take a bunch of running backs and hope something. Happened.
Yeah, so, you're fine.
Yeah, I thought so. And hey, I'm sorry, there's a chance Corey Douglas and Doug Baldwin become pretty decent wide receivers.
We'll see with the offseason surgeries for Baldwin. I had heard the rumors that he's contemplating retirement, so we'll have to watch out for that. Corey Davis could be the prototypical 3-year breakout wide receiver, so this could be his this year. So it's possible.
Just say I did good.
Oh, I'm going to nitpick. No, that's what I do. I'd rather do that.
My quarterbacks are a problem because, unfortunately, everyone took 3, and I just kept waiting. I just found better value all the time, and I kept watching. And here was my thing. I mean, I even made a comment in the chat room. I said, my first quarterback might be of all the guys that's probably going to play 16 games, it's going to be the 40-some-year-old guy, Tom Brady. So at least I can get 16 games out of him. And then if Andy Dalton at least stays healthy enough to get me 1 game during a bye week. Now, that was my problem there. I really think I screwed that up more than I would have screwed up the 2 defenses. See, I think I did right on the defense, but after I thought about it, a third quarterback might have been more important because if Brady and Dalton both have a bye week that same week, I'm really screwed because that's a lot of points you're giving up.
But not even just from that perspective, but also from the perspective of what are the chances that either one of them give you a QB1 type of week? Because Tom Brady, even for as much name recognition as he gets you, he's really not the same Tom Brady that we thought of even back in 2017.
Okay, and I knew that, but that's why I was so wide receiver heavy in a PPR. I'm like, and I'm sorry. I mean, I still don't think, there's a chance Devontae Freeman and Sony Michel and Adrian Peterson and even Derrick Henry. Those 4 aren't terrible running backs. They all 4 can be, I think they are all 4 starters. I mean,
we'll see.
I think my point is I just need the 2 quarterbacks, in my opinion, to be average quarterbacks every week.
Yeah, I would have shot for a little bit more upside on the quarterback because, I mean, again, Tom Brady finished as, and I'm just looking this up, Tom Brady finished as QB 16 last season.
Okay.
And I mean, and he has Julian Edelman, Philip Dorsett, Demaryius Thomas now to throw to, and no Gronk. So I would have maybe shot for somebody that has a little bit higher upside. Like, hell, I would have even gone for Josh Allen at that point if you're going to do it. I mean, because at least then he's got some upside with rushing. So
I feel bad. I let our listeners down. I'm sorry. Now you got to remember, this was my first draft of the year. I'm in baseball right now. I'm doing four baseball leagues. I had done no real research before this happened. Yeah. And it was going to be here was my other problem. It was going to be a 7, and I did a few mock drafts to get ready. It was supposed to be a 7-round draft for fun and turned into a 18, meaning I really was, not prepared. But I don't think I'm terrible.
No. I think from a process standpoint, just needs a couple of tweaks, but I mean, it's not too bad.
Again, in both drafts, because again, we did 3 rounds and then started again. And when we started again, we repicked draft positions. So 2 different people picked Barkley as number 1. And I've my opinion on that. I still think that
is known. Yeah.
That it's just still wrong. I'm sorry. He is not the best running back in the group. And to me, he's the most.
No, it's Alvin Kamara. Yeah, it's known.
That's even worse. Here's the first round. Barkley, Kamara, Zeke Elliott. Now, in the first time we did this draft, Zeke went 6th. I was picking 7th. I got 7th both times. I was picking 7th. I thought I got a shot at getting Zeke here.
Right. That's wild.
Zeke went 3rd. Todd Gurley 4th. Christian McCaffrey 5th. Melvin Gordon 6th, which I think is a terrible pick because DeAndre Hopkins is who I picked next. DeAndre Hopkins to me is I like a ton better.
I would take him over Melvin Gordon. Yes,
and
I agree.
Le'Veon Bell, Julio Jones.
Le'Veon Bell in the first is still problematic for me.
I would agree. But to me, the worst pick in the first, not that I just hate Barkley being number 1, but number 10, both times was Patrick Mahomes, which is stupid. I know. No. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. No. I'll take Andy Dalton and my Tom Brady 12 rounds later or whatever. I don't even know when I picked Tom. Actually, let me look because that's where did I get Tom? I picked Tom in the 12th. The quarterbacks that went, oh, you know what? Now I look at this. Probably where I screwed up was I took Tom instead of Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers just went a couple later. Josh Allen went in the 14th. Goff went 3 picks after Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going with Tom Brady. A lot of people by then had already taken 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's around how many rounds did you guys go?
I got Andy Dalton in round 17. So
how many rounds did you guys go?
We went 20.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's around the 10th, the 9th, 10th round. That's when you see all the quarterbacks just disappear.
Right. So I don't know. I had fun. It was I at least did some research. I did prepare a little bit, but again, I was preparing for 7 rounds. And to be honest, at 7 rounds, I wasn't planning on taking a quarterback. If you tell me we're going to do a 7-round PPR single quarterback league, because at that point it wasn't even a draft and hold or a best ball. This was supposed to just be a true, let's do 7 rounds so we can write an article about this, an early opinion. And it turned into again, I planned on taking none. So Baldwin is older than that Mustang. I hear you out there making.
He's not wrong.
What do you mean he's not wrong? That Mustang's only 25 years old. Cha, you're a pain in my butt. Yeah, Golden Tate. What do you? Golden Tate's now signed. That's.
Yeah.
And I don't know. A lot of people like the receivers for the Giants, but I'm sorry, none of those equal Odell, and that's why I'm still worried that the that box is going to get a little tighter without Odell Beckham on the outside. I'm sorry. That's why I'm still
sure. But from an opportunity standpoint, you can't see the targets not being distributed to Sterling Shepard, to Golden Tate, to any of those. Now, and also Evan Ingram in such a way that they're getting these massive amounts of volume. Now, it could be 100 targets apiece, but they're all for 4 yards a clip. That's entirely possible. Yeah, but they only get 3 touchdowns apiece.
But that's part of my problem, though. If they're all catching those little passes they're also in the box, meaning they're defenders in the box. All that's going to cause Barkley to not get those, 14, those 26.
Oh, yeah, Barkley is not worth where he's going right now.
And again, and I'm not even saying this in a bad way. I love the Big Ten. I hope Barkley's the greatest NFL running back all time because I'm still a believer that the Giants did it right. I believe if you have an opportunity to get a Ezekiel Elliott type player, an Adrian Peterson type player, and I hope Barkley is that. So I'm willing to throw that out there. But I'm still saying it's still too early for me to draft him number 1. That's all. I hope he has a great year. I'm just not willing to gamble my first pick on somebody who isn't proven 2 years. I get it. People say he's proven, he did it last year, but he did it last year with a different team, a different wide receiver core, a different, the whole offense is going to be different. And they did not even fix the offensive line yet. So,
no.
All that being said, that's my point. He could have a better year than Zeke Elliott, and I hope he does. I don't really. I'm a Big Ten guy, and I like Zeke first. But my point is, I'm still willing to take Zeke first because I think Zeke has a less shot of failing. Meaning, if you asked me who's most likely to get 2,300 yards next year, I would probably say Barkley over Zeke. But if you're going to ask me who's more likely to get under 1,000 next year, I would also say Barkley, not Zeke.
Yes, so, the range of outcomes is much greater.
Right. And it is a number 1 pick. I can't do that. You know, I'd rather have Zeke get 15. Yeah, not 19 like I'd hope. Right. But I'd rather have that 15-19 number instead of that 23-11 number. Mm-hmm. And I'm rooting for the kid. I watched Penn State. I watched him run there. I mean, I'm rooting for him.
I'm definitely rooting for him, but I will never root for bad process. And that's I think that's what the Giants exercised, bad process.
See, I'm disagreeing with that. I think they did the right thing because I think if anyone looks back and said, would you take Adrian Peterson before any quarterback the year he came out? Everyone would say, based on the career, yes, you take that because you'll find a quarterback somewhere. If that, back to what we said earlier, back to paying Russell Wilson, I'm sorry. If your line is good enough and you have a Barkley back there, you can win the Super Bowl with players that aren't superstar quarterbacks. That's my point. I just believe that, and no one's going to convince me different. Yes, people will give me all these superstar quarterbacks and how many games they've won and all that, but I've still seen a lot of mediocre quarterbacks with decent defenses or great offensive lines win championships.
But it hasn't worked out like 4 years straight. I mean, it didn't work out for the Jaguars when they drafted Leonard Fournette. It didn't work out for the Cowboys when they drafted Zeke. It hasn't worked out for the Panthers when they got Christian McCaffrey. So it's like, when are we going to stop having this poor process to add players to teams?
Here's the other problem you're saying is Super Bowls, and I'm kind of that way too. But you know, you can't. I mean, only one team wins a Super Bowl every year. You can still have a successful team. I mean, I'm sorry, the Dolphins and Dan Marino were a pretty damn good team, even though they never could get to the Super Bowl. You know. That's my point. A Super Bowl to me doesn't make or break or really decide the decision or not.
No, at least get to the playoffs or at least be top of your division.
Giants still have the ability to draft a decent quarterback. They still could get Josh out. I mean, they still have some options out there that starting next year, you know, they'll be fine. And hopefully Barkley is great and whatever. I'm just saying. And there's no proof that the couple quarterbacks from last year, they didn't work out either, really. So, I mean, that's not even proven yet, you know. So, I don't know. I'm personally a line guy. I'd rather like the Bengals. Build your lines. Build both offense and defensive lines.
That's what you're supposed to do.
And then, draft enough, players with some crazy skills that maybe they become superstars. So, yeah. I'm kind of living on that. So good. We went off a different angle because I didn't know if you wanted to talk schedule or not. I don't care one lick. If anything, here's the one thing I will mention if it's a matter of caring or not. The Monday Night Football matchups just get worse every year. And I know we're looking at a schedule assuming based on last year, but
there's still going to be a Tennessee-Jacksonville game on a Thursday night, and it's going to be hilarious.
How do I want to say this? I don't mind what happens on Thursday. It's the beginning of the week. It's a way to get me pumped up.
Sure.
Monday night, my adrenaline's already flowing. I already had the week. It's the end of the fantasy. I need points. I don't know. And I grew up now people will say I grew up before there was Sunday Night Football. Monday Night Football was the game of the week. I mean, the big matchups were on Monday. Now they're on Sunday night. But I don't know. The Monday night matchups are no better or worse than Thursday night. Yeah. They can't flex them. I mean, the whole thing. is a little. I'm glad you did want to talk about it. I had to mark it here because I thought, well, Chris might be we've never really had this talk. I didn't know how big of a schedule guy you were. I could have. I was amazed that ESPN did 2 hours on it. Now,
strength of schedule
on Monday Night Football.
Strength of schedule and all that. Well, it's fun to look at the analysis. It's so hard to predict from year to year, and even the analysis, it changes as the season goes on. Yeah. So it's very difficult to predict from looking at a team's schedule how they're going to perform throughout the year. So you really shouldn't use that as a guide for draft or putting your team together, unless it's at the very extremes. I mean, for all these teams that are kind of in the middle in terms of they might have a good schedule, might have a bad schedule, throw it out. But if a team has a really easy schedule, like they play nothing but just like bottom 10 teams every single week.
You're only assuming bad schedules right at the moment, which I think they've already said. I think the Patriots have one of the worst schedules.
No, I'd heard they had one of the easiest schedules, but I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet.
That's what I meant. I mean, the Patriots have one of the easiest schedules, so I don't even know what I said then. I must have said hard by mistake.
But they play in the AFC East
division, right? They're playing 6 games against those 6 terrible teams.
I mean, the Bills, a team that's actively tanking. I mean, what do you expect?
Jets have 2 Monday night games. I was like, what? Whatever. It's like the damn Boston and Yankees playing every Sunday night. I swear to God, they only play Sundays. Yankees and Red Sox play every Sunday. They don't play 3-game series like everyone else. They just play every Sunday night for the whole baseball season, so ESPN can put them on. Crack me up, Chris. We had a good time, didn't we? And we talked. We did get to the topic, and we always go way over on the topic. We should start earlier on our topic someday. We should learn to do that. Then we wouldn't have fun talking about some of these other weird things that no one else talks about. George Foreman. And you got to admit, do you ever see yourself buying a Tiger Woods grill? I mean,
I could now.
George Foreman came back, rebuilt his career, and has the number one selling.
Tiger needs a brand. He needs a brand item, and I will go buy that.
Again, I don't want to be a hater. The Tiger Woods logo, I'm not sold on.
I was never a big fan of it. It reminds me of the Tesla logo almost.
I don't know. It's just boring.
Yeah.
And I don't know. If my name is Tiger, I want something that's eating some shit. I want something shredded. I want to see some. I want to see claws coming out and that Nike swoosh coming out of my chest. I don't know that TW and it's a little square. It doesn't even look right on a hat. It's not. Right. I don't know. It's a perfect logo for the back of your Nike shoe. You know what I'm saying? The thing that goes down the back of the shoe, that's not all it's good for. I don't. Come on. I mean, Nicholas was the golden bear. The golden bear. He had a golden bear on everything. He had that golden bear. I'm like, man, that's a grizzly. That's a golden bear. That's mean. Tiger has the name Tiger in his name. And nothing. We have a TW and a little.
He's always just been a corny dude, so he just needs to hire some sort of marketing person and figure it out.
Is he too committed now? He's had that for quite a long time.
No, I think at this point he's pot committed, but I think, for some sort of household item, because if we want to find the George Foreman grill equivalent for Tiger, he needs to go out and get just a marketing team and have them do something. Do you think now someone can do what you got to admit that George Foreman grill? I don't know this. Oh, it's so popular.
I think it's one of the number one selling appliances of all time.
It has to be.
So, that's even more than the set it and forget it guy. The
rotisserie thing. Yeah.
The chicken and the copper pots and all that. I know people who have had 3, 4, 5, 6 Foreman grills.
Yes.
I never
had one in college.
I was never a fan because I don't like too hard to clean. Now people say now you can take them apart and put them in the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always thought it dried out my meat, and I'm not a fan of my meat being dry. So,
right.
I cook my meat on a real grill with real flames. But you do have to admit, when we're talking greatest comebacks of all time, doesn't the grill have to weigh a little bit? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
if he doesn't win that second heavyweight champion, I don't know where the grill came in here, but if he doesn't win that second heavyweight champion, do we have a George Foreman grill?
Probably not.
Right. I mean, right now, would we be cooking on the, Dale Earnhardt grill? I mean, would somebody,
I don't think Dale would have done something. That seems more like a Tony Stewart
I think they all would have done it if they know they were going to sell 1 billion grills.
Well, of course, yeah, if you knew that going in.
But I think the fact that George was 300 pounds, he had 9 kids named George, which don't you have to give a dad credit for that too? A comeback. The guy didn't only come back. The guy convinced his wife that he was naming all his kids George.
And Georgina.
You have a wife. I have a wife. What's the odds any of your kids were even going to have a name that rhymed, let alone
no.
No. That shit's badass.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is like elite.
He won an Olympic gold medal.
Right.
He fought Muhammad Ali and won. He fought Kenny Norton. He fought the greats. He took some time off. He had 9 kids named George. He came out with the #1 selling appliance of all time.
Right.
And we're debating the best comeback ever. I'm sorry.
It's fair. Yeah.
Now, that being said, real quick, you still have Google there? Real quick, while I'm signing off, Tiger Woods net worth versus George Foreman net worth. I'm even sure. I don't know. Did George make money off this grill or not? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he might have got his name on there and only got like 50 cents a grill. I have no idea. Tiger was in the close to $1 billion at one time, wasn't he? Wasn't he close to being the first athlete to be worth $1 billion?
Right now, well, you'd have to look at it from when he was at his peak. Right now, this year, George Foreman.
We're going this year.
George Foreman's worth $300 million. His net worth as of 2019. Tiger Woods is at $740 million.
You know what though? That's not bad when you consider how old George Foreman.
No, yeah,
athlete. Meaning, if George Foreman's athletic name and all that is so much older than Tiger. Tiger made a lot more of his money when money was more valuable. Am I saying that right? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
The
value of $1 back then.
Right. Not right. I'm guessing at both of George's peak, he probably was paid one of the highest athletes those years, but that peak was a lot smaller than Tiger Woods's peak.
Right. So that you adjust for era or year.
So I would say based on that's not too shabby for George Foreman to be with 300,000.
Not at all.
We do know that's all on that grill, right? I mean, that is the grill.
Yeah.
That cracks me up. That boy, that's a comeback. I'm sorry. You got you might.
I think you got it. I think you're right.
You have to convince me Tiger Woods' was better. I think in the golf world maybe, but overall athletes, 10 years, 8 kids named George, and the #1 selling appliance.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Could Tiger sell an appliance now? I'm not. There's a lot of women that aren't on
marketing team for that.
A lot of women are not on Tiger's team. I don't know.
Yeah, so it would take a lot of good branding or something like that.
My wife doesn't pick sides too much, but when it was going on this week, my wife made a few, just walking through the room, she'd make a snide comment. You know?
I can understand that.
So I think that's a little, but my wife has never said one bad thing about George. So there we go. All right. If anything you got out of this, it's that we should all love George and give that boy some respect for what he
absolutely.
So greatest comebacks of all time. And speaking of comebacks, we will come back next Wednesday at 10 o'clock and hopefully some news happens in the NFL or something. And we'll talk about it. I don't even know what's coming up this week. I know there's no Masters. I don't know. I have no idea.
No, it's going to be a quiet week other than the basketball. NBA playoffs going on, but otherwise it'll be pretty quiet.
By next week, the Blue Jackets will play a couple more matches, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for Cha-Cha and Doug out there. I know Andrew was in there at the beginning. We had Cam out there for a few minutes. I'm going to go watch some Elvis as soon as we get off of here. Greatest of all time, right? Is Elvis the GOAT?
I think so. Yeah.
Or the Beatles. I think the Beatles would say they wouldn't have been around if it wasn't for Elvis. So you got to give a little cred towards the person who started it, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. Elvis, the king of rock and roll. Chris, where can everybody find you? And we'll get out of here.
You find me on Twitter at Chris Allen FFWX.
All right. And you can just find me at a fantasy fan or on Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com, the Legend Sports Network. I'm in the chat room all the time harassing people. I bring nothing to this chat room, but I love harassing people. And that's where I really shine at being an asshole in the chat room. So it's a skill. It's a skill, Chris. So
Yes.
Thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks for everybody. Again, we'll come up with some great topics next week. Everybody, see you next week. Chris, say goodnight.
Night.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say goodnight. Good night.